Glenn, just checking in to see if you are still a YouTuber who has never made a real record. Please advise. Thank you.
Nope. Never made a quote-unquote big major label real record. Made a lot of fake records with real drummers on them, though. Hey everybody, I hope you're having a great Friday. It's time for SMG Viewers Comments, my weekly show where I try and answer your comments and questions to the best of my ability. Now, I've got a couple decades of experience in running a home studio, working with local bands, that kind of thing. You know, the situation most of you guys are in. So if you've got a question about running a home studio or a recording technique or something like that, leave a comment below. If it's cool, if I think it's going to benefit the viewership as a whole, I would be more than happy to answer it. Anyway, let's get right to it.
As soon as you stop giving a fuck about views, you will be back on track.
Giannis, I think you're absolutely right. I think as of late, I've been kind of maybe a little bit too obsessed about numbers and not enough about what this show was to begin with, which is saying whatever the fuck is on my mind and not giving a shit about the fucking consequences. Calling crappy music out for what it is. Crap. Last I checked, the music's not getting any better. We're not getting any new fucking rock stars. And people who even had modest success are kind of flaming out on social media. Chris Taylor Brown comes to mind there from good old Trapped. Now, I've got more on that coming up on a future episode with a heavy emphasis on the moron part. There's plenty of them out there. And I think you guys are going to like it. It's going to be just kind of how there's been a massive culture shift in rock and roll, and it's definitely not what it used to be. It's become way too fucking safe. You might offend somebody. Fuck off. So what? Grow thicker skin. Get over it.
Nice video. Hey Glenn, I hope all is good with you. Just in case anyone reads anything into this video that isn't the case, Rob, Ola, and I are great friends. We're super impressed with what Ola is doing, and we also believe Chapman are currently making the best range of guitars it's ever made. By the way, all the Chapman Pro range since the beginning of 2020 come with USA Seymour Duncan pickups. Cheers for the feedback on the Ghost Fret. We're making changes to the guitar right now and hope we can show you something later in 2021. Happy Christmas to you. Peace.
Hey everybody, it's Lee Anderton from Anderton's Music. Always great to hear from Lee. He's a good friend of the show. Known him for a number of years. He's always a good hang. If you're ever in England, I'd highly recommend checking out Anderton's Music Shop as well. It's definitely worth the trip. I went there, had an absolute blast. What a great bunch of people. Anyway, about that Ghost Fret. Yes, now for the record, just in case it was a little bit too subtle of a metaphor for some of you guys to notice, I was kidding. Now, obviously, everybody's basing it off an Explorer design. On the Ghost Fret, the Solar, it really doesn't matter. They're variations on a theme. Both have strengths and weaknesses. Like I said, I love the Seymours in this thing. And I took a bunch of your advice. A bunch of you guys said get some skateboard grip tape, so that's exactly what I did. Ordered some up on Amazon. No more sliding down my leg problem. Well, a few of you guys are like, hey, play classical position, which is great, unless you try plugging this guitar in, because the input jack's right fucking here. Hey, Lee, I hope you're paying attention, because this shit needs to move, either up here or something, so it's not going to interfere with you when you're trying to fucking sit with it. Now, I have noticed Chapman Guitar has been getting a lot of bad press as of late, whether it's the company founder or the guitars themselves. I mean, I know Henning Pauly had some issues with the quality a couple years ago. Hopefully they've stepped their game up. Now, the guitar I've got is from 2016, and it's freaking amazing. I'm really happy with that guitar. The Solar EX that I just reviewed not too long ago, again, super high quality guitar. I absolutely love Solar guitars. This one in particular is an absolute fucking beast. It's just a joy to play. You're definitely not gonna go wrong with this brand either. And just to be absolutely 100% crystal fucking clear in case anybody missed it, I was fucking kidding about Solar ripping off Chapman. I don't think anybody's ripping off anybody else. I mean, like, there's gonna be Strat shapes, there's gonna be Les Paul shapes, there's going to be Explorer shapes, and then everybody kind of does their own thing based off those various groups of body shapes. I don't think anyone's particularly ripping one off from another, unless you're like a blatant Strat copy or a Les Paul copy that's coming out of China, and that's completely different ball wax. At least, you know, Solar's kind of doing their own thing. They kind of taken a variation on a theme. Chapman's kind of doing their own thing as well. Chapman's are a little more organic looking, whereas the Solar guitars are metal as fuck, and I really like those as well. Can't wait to get my hands on a 7-string eventually. Hope that happens soon.
Hey Glenn, I just got the opportunity to work with an established metal vocalist whom I idolize. How do I go about the project, as I really don't want to mess up this enormous opportunity, LOL?
Now that's our good friend Rav. He's asking that from the SMG Discord. Links for the Discord are in the description below. You can check that out. Get involved. If you want to make your mixes better and hang out with an awesome community, come join us. We'd love to have you. I also do Saturday night gaming sessions. We play Counter-Strike, and I do Sunday premium mix reviews in kind of like small classes, as it were, where we kind of like share mixes with each other and kind of give advice and whatnot. Because I'm not the only one in there giving good advice. We got some good dudes in there who get some really amazing tones, who aren't afraid to share their techniques. Anyway, a wrap. On your question, the best advice I can give you is something that John Barrowman said at Fan Expo there a couple years ago. Yes, I'm a fucking nerd. Okay. He's the guy from Torchwood, for anybody asking. Now, after sitting through a bunch of celebrities answering, the same question from people, oh, who did you enjoy working with the most? Somebody asked Barrowman a real question, said, what do I do as a young actor? And he said the most important thing I think anybody said that entire fucking week. And he says, be on time, know your lines, know your marks, and don't waste anyone's time. I thought that was absolutely fucking brilliant. And salute to Mr. Barrowman. He's a funny motherfucker as well. If you get a chance to see him live, I would highly recommend doing that. Anyway, this also applies to running a home studio or working with somebody who you may idolize. My suggestion would be maintain a professional attitude. Be the first one to get to the studio. Be the last one to leave. Get your shit set up well before the talent walks through the fucking door so he can just throw on a set of headphones, get a level, and go. You want, make sure that's not going to collapse. You want your headphone mix to be working already before he even puts that on. If that means running back and forth to the vocal booth and trying it out yourself, then fucking do it. If you make the experience easy, if you make the friction almost non-existent, he's gonna wanna work with you again. That's the most important advice I can give you. That, and don't be a fucking fanboy or a punisher. Don't hit him with a whole bunch of fucking random questions about his band's past. Be happy that you're working with the dude, but remember, he's there to do a job and not answer your bullshit questions. He's there to make a fucking record. If you barrage him with a crap ton of questions, he might not want to work with you again. If you seem nervous, he might not want to work with you again as well. The idea is maintain a professional mannerism at all times working with him. There's a very good chance you'll be called back.
Glenn, you're a legend, thank you. If tubes had a sound, manufacturers would publish frequency response curves just like they do for speakers and microphones. But they don't, because tubes do not have a sound. Never did. And the industry always knew it too.
Kevin, that is an absolutely amazing point. That is something I have never seen, a frequency response graph for a vacuum tube. You always see that for speakers and microphones. They always show off, the little squiggly line. It's like, okay, here's what's going on in the top end. Here's what's going on in the mid-range. That shit doesn't happen with tubes. Why? Because the tube makes the fucking sound louder. And the idea is for the tube to make the sound louder on all frequencies. That's the whole fucking reason they exist. Just had an email there with Peter from Boutique Amps Distribution, and he commented pretty much the same thing. He got a real laugh out of my tube test video. He's like, yeah, I've been saying this shit for years. Peter is one of the designers over there who works on the Synergy line of amps, which I've got down here. Amazing stuff. Absolutely killer stuff. We're probably gonna have Peter on the show at some point, maybe do a little bit of an interview with him. So if you guys want to get a little geeky with tube amps, I definitely recommend checking that out. And as always, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know when that video hits the YouTubes.
Hey Glenn, with all the free plugins out in the world, what would you say is the best to invest in if you have the money to do so? Is a compressor more valuable to invest in than a reverb plug, for example? Best wishes, and as always, fuck you, Glenn.
Honestly, if I was in your position, I might want to take a look at, say, a Slate All Access Pass or the Waves equivalent or something like that, because a lot of plugin companies are starting to do things under the Netflix model where you pay a low monthly price and you get access to everything. That way, you're not limited by your choice of plugins. I mean, like, I've just started mixing with the Slate stuff again after I did my video on the virtual mic system, and a lot of you guys are like, holy fuck, that sounds great. And I'm like, I think a lot of it has to do with their Distressor plugin, because I'm using that all over the drum mix, and I think it sounds fucking incredible. There's a lot of good stuff from Slate. There's a lot of good stuff for Waves. There's so many good options out there. If you're gonna drop money on one plugin and you want to own it and keep it for life, get the PSP Infinity Strip, because it's hyper flexible and it does a whole bunch of different things. EQ, compression, and leveling and stuff. It's just like an awesome Swiss Army knife type of plugin. That and do a lot of homework on free plugins because there's some really great shit out there. Gonna be doing a best free plugins of 2021 video coming up real soon. Make sure you watch for that.
Sampled drums are processed recordings of the person playing drums. You own recording as a person playing drums that needs processing to come comparable to samples. Loading 50 plugins on a crop drum recording to make it passable is no different than using auto-tune. If samples aren't real, then your own highly processed recordings aren't real either, as there is no difference except the player. If you deny this is a valid point, I need some evidence or shut the fuck up, Glenn.
Okay there, Mr. Salty Ballsack. You know what? I'll bite. Actually, I just shot a video before doing this video explaining this exact fucking thing. Samples over a drum set or somebody else playing the kit. Processing it doesn't alter the fucking performance. How many fucking times do I have to fucking say it before somebody as brainless like you fucking understands? Fuck! It's like talking to a brick fucking wall. It's just the same thing. No, it's fucking not! It's not even fucking close. If you need evidence, watch my video. It's called The Difference Between IRs and Drum Samples. It's talking about the ethics and replacing the player versus basically using a complex EQ to shift the sound. There is a fucking difference. One, you still get to hear the fucking player. Two, you're replacing the fucking player. Is that fucking simple enough for you? Do you fucking understand? Am I making sense?
Glenn, you probably addressed this in a previous VC, but whenever I hear you talking about sampled anything, you're mostly referring to engineers using them in their final mixes. How do you feel about composers or producers, not necessarily of metal, that don't have a band at the ready? I feel like most of these butthurt sample comments, along with the hate comments to your mixes, are people feeling invalidated by their only option being samples.
It really strikes me as odd that as technology has gotten more accessible, the technology for recording real drums just seems to be more and more out of reach for so many people. And I think that's really sad. And like I said, I think we're losing some of the art along the way. We're losing some of the chaos that used to be part of rock and roll and has become replaced with this assembly line stamped out cookie cutter bullshit that we're hearing on record after record after record after record. We're not hearing any of that unpredictability anymore. And that's what I really miss. Now, just to be extra special clear, if you're writing with Easy Drummer or what have you, big fucking drums, who knows, whatever the fuck you're using, if that's what you're writing with, that's absolutely awesome. If that's all you have access to, that's fine. Make music any way you can. I'm not trying to invalidate anybody, not even the guy in the last comment who made Butthurt of the Week.
Sorry, I wish I had a drum set so I can mic it up and learn from you, but I don't, so I skipped that one. I know those who did watch it probably learned. Thanks.
Well, hey, Don, I'd like to pose a question to you and many others. Now, you guys have been seeing Jackson Ward make a lot of appearances on the show this year, as well as Cam Fleury. Those guys always lay down some utterly incredible drum tracks. Now, Jackson has access to an awesome studio in Indianapolis, and he does a lot of the drum performances for me in that studio there with that awesome drum room, and he makes absolutely amazing drum recordings. But this is the thing, I've been banking up quite a few of these little demo tracks over the last couple of years, and I'm curious if you had access to live drums, would you be interested in mixing them? Or would you guys be interested in some kind of rudimentary tutorials where we go through Reaper and then I can show you how to mix real drums with various plugin platforms like Waves or Slate or PSP or McDSP or what have you? Would you guys be interested in something like that? Because Jackson hit me up this a while ago and he says, you should really do a SMG grooves pack. And I'm thinking, yeah, we could probably do something where we take 20 grooves and they're like minute long pieces where they're all varying different feels and stuff like that. And you guys can mix at your leisure and then use those grooves in your own productions. If that's something you guys would be interested in buying, I'd like to know. Please leave a comment below because I want to hear from you.
Hey Glenn, I know drum samples doesn't sound nearly as good as a real kit, but I can't afford drums or hire drummers, so I use samples, but I try to humanize them by messing with dynamics and unquantizing the samples. Do you know of any other way making samples sound better or a way to get better drums? I'm still going to high school and I can't afford too much. Thanks.
Hey Leonardo, thanks so much for writing. Now, here's the thing. I was once a broke high schooler as well. Actually, I was broke in college and was broke in my working life for the first few years too, so believe me, I get it. The best thing you can do with working with sample drums is just don't 127 everything, because that's where it gets really stupid. Drummers don't play at full volume every freaking time. Maybe you should, center your velocities around 100 and just kind of randomize them up and down, 5 or 10 data points. You know, maybe a couple 110s, maybe a couple 90s, that kind of thing, because that's really how drummers play. I mean, like every time a drummer hits a snare in the real world, it's like, you know, it's going to be how hard he hits it, where he hits it, and how much of the rim is involved. You know, there's a lot of minute factors that go up in making a drum sound. So a lot of sample sets don't really have that level of precision to them. Now, the easiest way you could possibly make fake drums sound real is when you get to a triplet part, double bass, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Fuck that up. Make sure that's not on time, because in 20 plus years of recording drummers, I think I've met about 2 drummers who can actually pull that off.
Glenn, even if you deem the Zoom worthy of the hammer, don't do it. Why not give it away to someone that's just starting out? One man's garbage is another man's treasure, eh?
Because this thing's a fucking piece of shit. There's better out there for free. You can get free plugins that just fucking destroy this fucking thing. I mean, seriously, you can get the Fluff plugin, the 1 amp to download off that for free is fucking amazing. It'll blow the doors off the Zoom. Same with the Stevie T amp sim. I just started playing around with that. That one's pretty cool as well. It's got a free section of it. You can use that. It's fucking great. Just started playing with the GE Labs for more. You can get that for free. That works on your fucking iPad. That's awesome. This is an obsolete piece of technology. This is a fucking 8-track player. This is a Betamax for guitar stuff. It's absolutely fucking worthless. The only thing it'd be good for is maybe melting down the gold contacts in it and using it for something useful. This doesn't even work as a doorstop because it's too low.
Yeah, but solar guitars are just better, and who's the more humble out of the 2 owners? Who would you rather hang out with? And whose company would you rather support?
Now, this is the thing. I know both Ola England and Rob Chapman. They're both very cool dudes. I've hung out with both of them. Great guys. I've known Ola since about 2005 from the Andy Sneap Forum days. Great dude. I've known Chapman since about 2015. Again, great dude. Met him at NAMM, like I think it was 2015, and we had a few laughs. Great guy. I know Rob's been getting the shit end of the stick in the public eye as of late. I don't know any of the details. I've never paid attention to any of that shit. All I can say is from my own personal experience, and he's always struck me as a solid dude. Your mileage may vary, however. I think either company's making fine guitars. I love my Chapman. I love my Solars. In my opinion, I think it's a win for guitar players.
Glenn, what caused bass players to become so useless, and how do you find a bass player that isn't useless?
Oh man, that's the real trick. Now, I said this on how to not completely suck at bass guitar, so please, if you haven't watched that video, watch that first. Usually the bass guitar player is the shitty guitar player who never spent any money on a decent amp and nobody's ever heard him at band practice because he's just too fucking quiet and he just kind of stands there and fakes it. Happens with some guitar players as well. I remember Tyler from Music Is Win telling me, at Berkeley, they'd play, like an ensemble piece with a bunch of guitar players, and some of the guitar players would just like strum but not actually hit any of their strings or keep their volume knobs down, that kind of shit, because they were faking it because they didn't know how to do the fucking work. I mean, let's face it, a lot of people are fucking lazy. Bass players tend to be the laziest out of the bunch. Not being said that there aren't amazing bass players out there. Believe me, there's some absolutely incredible bass players. I'm very fortunate I get to work with a guy like Eric Arco, who's just like multi-talented. He's fucking incredible on bass. When I was in LA before COVID hit, I was going to have Billy Gould from Faith No More on this show. I've been a huge fan of his ever since The Real Thing came out. What an incredible bass player. Those are guys who do the instrument justice. You want to see an amazing bass player on YouTube, go check out Nathan Navarro's show. He's fucking absolutely amazing. And a really cool dude to hang out with as well. As for the question, how do you find a bass player that isn't useless? Talk to people, try them out. Have them come out to your band practice and see who works, see who doesn't. Thing is though, make sure they're turned up to the point where you can hear them and see if it gels. You should be able to figure it out pretty quick, actually. But the easiest way to tell a good bass player from a bad bass player is to sit them down and record them and listen for things like out of key open strings flapping in the breeze and resonating. That shouldn't be, because a lot of great bass technique isn't just playing the notes, it's keeping the strings muted that shouldn't be playing.
I can tell you're a Star Wars fan as evidenced by your Jedi Priest shirt. You mentioned a lot of anime and got me wondering what your thoughts on the flourishing hard rock metal scene in Japan, and what bands, if any, stand out to you.
I can't say too much. I mean, like, only introduced to Japanese bands through anime, pretty much. I mean, yeah, the theme for the second season of Death Note. What up, people? Holy shit, that was something. Or Satsugai. We actually covered that on the show. We had Trey Watson do vocals on it. It was absolutely amazing. Now, we've done some Beat Crusaders stuff as well. We did Moon on the Water. We turned that into a metal track. Siegfried's song sang on that. That was great. We even did a cover of Like a Fujin, which was like the most obscure song in the Beck Mongolian Chop Squad soundtrack. Killer track, though. Not too many of you guys watched it. That's a shame, because it was a lot of fun. I love checking out the Japanese bands because I think they kind of take their own approach to metal, and it's really fucking cool. So if you guys have some more suggestions, I'm always down for checking out some new stuff.
Dude, love the update. Oh yeah, I was thinking, when you're practicing guitar, which guitar do you grab the most? And what are you using for an amp? Or are you using an amp sim? Fuck you, Glenn!
Well, it really depends. I mean, like, usually when I'm practicing, I'm just doing scales and runs and stuff like that, trying to develop my finger technique. So I'm usually, watching a movie or Netflix or something like that. So it's probably the Stratocaster or that LTD I unboxed last summer. That one's really comfortable. The green Harley Benton 6-string. I'm reaching for this one quite a bit lately. This one is absolutely great. The action's incredible. It's just super comfortable to play. Love this guitar. I've also got a 7-string GOC that looks shockingly a lot like a Strandberg. That is a lot of fun as well. It's got a very flat neck, so you can really bend the hell out of the strings. Underlying theme here is, I've got a lot of guitars and just not enough time to play them all.
Glenn, when describing that Fulcrum analog summing unit, you seem very pleased with the inclusion of the DB25 ports on it as a feature. The DB25 port is kind of anachronistic. About the only place I'm aware of them being used in equipment is the recording studio. Why is that? What kind of advantages does the DB25 offer over newer standards like USB-C, Firewire, Thunderbolt, etc.?
Well, in this case, the DB25 connector is an analog connector, not a digital connector. I remember, the old printer ports and that kind of shit, or the serial ports, those used to have the big DB25s and they were just fucking massive. And a giant pain in the ass. In this case, what we're doing is we're using all those pins. Those are the 3 connectors in a mic cable. So you've got your positive, negative, and your ground, and they're groups of 3. So you can get 8 mic cables on one DB25 with 1 extra pin left over. That's how that works. And I'd rather hook up a DB25 than 8 separate mic cables. It's just a lot easier. That's why I like it. It keeps things much cleaner as well in the back end. Hosa was nice enough to hook me up with a bunch of DB25 stuff, and I absolutely love their freaking cables. They've made my life a whole lot easier. So when I see studio gear come in that's multi-channel, has DB25, I know my life is going to be simple. I don't have to sit there and fucking try and get 8 mic cables into the proper ports and not fuck anything up. So it's a big win.
Hey Glenn, would you be able to do a video series of budget 500 series rack gear? I love the idea of being able to use analog gear because I've had the Slate $14.99 bundle for quite a while, and I want to look more into analog gear, but I'm mainly doing mixing and mastering because I usually just record guitars for now at home and practice with raw multi-tracks. What would you recommend for a top 5 500 series gear? Thanks from NYC, and fuck you.
Ooh, great episode suggested. Top 5 for cheap 500 series. Yes, I think that's an episode that can happen. I've got a bunch of cheap 500 series gear. I've got a bunch of expensive stuff here. Like, I got one of those Alctron pre's. Those are dirt cheap and really fucking good for the money. I've also got some of the Cranborn preamps. They're a little more money, but those are just fucking unreal. I've got some of the Lindell preamps and EQs and compressors. Just killer stuff. Super affordable. And of course, I've got some of the Midas stuff too. I've got the Midas compressor. I did a video on that a while back, and that punched way above its price point. The thing I want to check out though is the Midas rack power supply, because I feel that seems to be the big barrier to entering 500 series gear. Is the rack power supplies can be quite expensive. Like, I got an IGS Panzer 500 that was like, over $1,000. The Cranborn back here, not cheap, but it's got ADAT in and outs, so you can actually use your compressors and EQs, your analog compressors and EQs, like you would a plugin, and that is super fucking cool. Definitely worth the money. But yeah, Midas has got something dirt cheap. I want to get one in here and see just if it's any good at all. See if it can take the power demands of 500 series gear and see if it's clean enough to be a practical solution. Definitely something I want to check out in a future episode. Please make sure you subscribe to that and hit the notification bell, because you'll get notified when that shit comes out.
Hey Glenn, I realized recently I've never seen you use any UAD equipment/plugins. Have you had any experience with UAD stuff? If so, what's your opinion of their plugin/hardware? As always, fuck you, Glenn.
Actually, when I was down in LA at Harmony Studios, we were using some Universal X16s, and they were great. And we had all the Universal plugin. Again, great. Their built-in distressor was pretty awesome. Now, for those of you guys who don't have the UAD hardware, but you want to get software that's very similar, get the Brainworks stuff. I think the UAD stuff is made by Brainworks, so the Brainworks stuff would probably be pretty damn similar, if not the exact same thing, just in a slightly different wrapper. That's what I'm guessing anyway. If I'm wrong, I'm sure you guys will let me know. All in all, I like the UAD stuff, especially because the plugin integration is great, but because I do a lot of live streaming, UAD doesn't have any kind of practical loopback system. I had a discussion with those guys at NAMM, actually, and I said, it's like, this is the one place where RME has you guys beat. You don't have loopback. They're like, oh, well, we've got a workaround. And I'm like, guys, I do 3 shows a week and 2 fucking live streams a week. I'm not interested in workarounds. I'm interested in getting work done. Get it fucking fixed. All right, everybody, that's it for this episode. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. All that good stuff. No big sponsor this week. Thought we'd take a break from the fucking advertising onslaught that is the holiday season and just give it to you straight. Anyway, if you guys enjoy the episode, hey, give it a thumbs up, give it a share, all that good stuff. I want to hear from you guys, especially what do you guys think about the possibility of an SMG Grooves pack? That's an idea I've been kicking around for a little while. And if you guys want to see it, if you guys are interested in it, I can make it happen. Anyway, until next time, get out there and make some metal, you amazing motherfuckers.